Hi everyone. In this video, we're going to be going over configuration for a program called x2go. x2go is the program we will be using to SSH into the Bellagio server. As mentioned in lecture, the Bellagio server here at CSN is very important if you're a CIT or a computer science student. That is where you'll be writing your code, compiling your code, as well as submitting your code. So it's very good to get familiar with it early on. Now, there's also, we have a guide here that I will link. There's steps on how to download and install it. If you have any trouble with either of these steps, please let me know. I'm more than happy to assist you. In this video, we're just going to be going over configuration. So click there, bring us down. An important note, I'm on Mac, but the configuration steps are identical regardless of your operating system. Whether you're on Windows, Mac, or Linux, it's all going to be the same, so feel free to follow along. First step, open x2go client application on your computer. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now, if you're on Mac, and once you go through the installation steps, the very first note here is to install Xquartz, right? Windows users, you do not need to do this. This is purely for Mac users. Just want to point that out real quick. We'll head back to configuration. Now, once x2go and Xquartz are both installed, you want to make sure you always have Xquartz running before you run x2go, right? So I'm going to go ahead and click it here. It's going to open a small terminal. We don't care about this terminal. We want to just exit it, but we want to make sure that the program is running, right? Signified by that small dot right below it. So now that that's done, we can dive into step one here of opening x2go client. We're going to do that. And right away, you get a configuration window here for session preferences, right? We're going to be starting a new session, so that's good. And as you can see, it's pretty similar to what the guide has here for us. We're going to go and follow steps one by one. Before we start though, up here under session name, you're able to name this. So we're going to be signing into the Bellagio server. I will go ahead and name this Bellagio. All right, now let's go to step one. The host field contains the address bellagio.csn.edu. This is the address for our server. So that's what we're going to go ahead and type in here. Step one, check. Step two, the login field has your appropriate username. This can be found in your email pertaining to your Bellagio login credentials. Very important. Sometime last week, you guys should have received an email to your student email account, your CSN student email, with login credentials. Inside that email would have been your username as well as your temporary password on how to log in, right? So for most students, your username would be the letter A, followed by your entry number, right? Now for me, it's just going to be M Castillo. That's second step done. If you didn't receive that email, please let me know and we'll go ahead and create you an account. You should have received one. If for whatever reason you didn't, again, please let me know. We're going to go ahead and move on to step three. The SSH port field is set to 22. Check. That was automatically set. Perfect. Now, step four. Your session type field is selected as single application with a command field value of terminal. So it's highlighted here in red. It's going to be this bottom type, this bottom drop-down box right here. So the first one is single application followed by terminal. Just click here. Go ahead and find single application. We're going to find terminal there. Perfect. So that's step four done. Now let's do one last check through before we proceed and hit OK. So I have my host name in there, bellagio.csn.edu. I have a session name, so I can identify my session. I have my login username set. SSH port is set to 22. It's perfect. And in session type, we've selected single application and then terminal as the command. So everything looks good. We're going to go ahead and hit OK. and boom, the preferences settings window will now disappear, and this is what x2go looks like and how it will look like in the future after you configure your first session. From here, we can go ahead and click Bellagio there, and this is where you want to type your password. That email I mentioned, it will have a temporary password. I will go over shortly on how to change that as well. So you are going to go ahead and type that and then hit enter. And you'll see this, you're connecting, and boom. Now, this right here is why the program exports is very important. If you notice, this looks very similar to that first terminal we saw, but now it displays our username followed by the server we're connected to, the Bellagio server. So that's perfect. We are now inside the CSN Linux machine. So this might look intimidating to some of you with no previous experience. Fear not, it's very simple. Basically, think of the Bellagio server as a computer. And it has a file structure just like Mac or Windows does with Finder and File Explorer. A good way to show that is the tree command. You see that? It basically shows all my folders in blue. I have a CSM folder followed by CS135, as well as just some files in there, right? This is a PDF file, this is a markdown file. It's purely command based, so it's not like on Mac where I can just hit Finder here and see visually my folders. But it works in much the same way. It has the same structure. It's nothing to fear. The Linux Unhatched course that you guys have been assigned should take you through a few commands. Again, if you bump into any questions with that, please let me know. Next step here is I'm going to show you guys how to change your temporary password once you're logged in. So you're going to want to type in the passwd command, passwd, then hit enter, and you'll get a prompt. Here you'll enter your temporary password. After you do that, you'll hit enter. Now here I can type, but it doesn't show like the cursor moving. That's one thing about Linux. It doesn't show passwords as you're being typed, but be careful. If you hit a key, you are typing. So you'll enter your current password, you'll hit enter, and then you'll get the option to choose a new password. I don't want to change my password, so I'm going to go ahead and just open a new tab here and close out of this one. And yeah, one last thing to keep in mind about x2go client and the Bellagio server is that once you are done using it, you want to make sure you don't just like exit out through the X at the top left or this X at the top left here. You want to make sure you type the command exit into the terminal and hit enter. This will end your session. If you do not do this, your session is still running on the Bellagio server, taking up space, and eventually it'll get booted off. But it just helps if you build that practice of typing in exit once you're done. And as you can see here, let me just close out of x2go and show you after you've configured what it'll look like. Click there, and the preferences we configured earlier, it's going to be right here on the right. From then, we just click on it, type our password, and we're in. All right, guys. Once again, I will be linking this document inside or below this video. If you have any questions throughout any of these tabs here, please go ahead and let me know or let one of your TAs know. We're more than happy to help.